Hi guys, welcome back to Origami Twist. My name's Jen, and in today's video, I'm going to give you a little informal tutorial on how to make word beads and then turn them into a bracelet. And as you can tell, I've pearl knotted these, so you've probably seen fancy pearl necklaces. They put knots in between the beads instead of actual beads. I'm going to show you how to do that, give you a little rundown on how to make cylinder beads out of paper, and show you how to make the word fit beautifully on your bead so you can actually read it and, it looks really cool. All right, so without further ado, let's get to this. Now, as I say, it's a bit informal, so it might be a little bit chatty. I hope that's okay. And yeah, let's get started. So first things first, the word bead. What I've done here is I've gone onto Microsoft Word, or if you've got Pages or some other, or even Google Docs will let you do this. And I've typed some different words that could be turned into beads really easily across the page. Now you've got a couple of options. This is Helvetica, the font here is Helvetica, size 14. You can use whatever font and whatever size you want. I highly recommend that you do it on the smaller side because otherwise you won't be able to read the word. And the best way to do that is to test it, but Helvetica 14 is what I used in the beads that we're making today, to give you an idea and a comparison. I put 3 spaces in between each word. Again, play around with it size-wise and number-wise, depending on what size font you pick. And then I'm using my paper trimmer because I want a nice straight line. You don't have to use a paper trimmer. You can eyeball this, but you're going to get a far more accurate result if you do use one. So the first cut you need to make is to cut it really close to the top of the word. So see how close that is? I wouldn't go any farther away than that, and you could actually go closer to it if you want to, if you feel comfortable with that. Now I'm going to cut it at least 4 inches down the page. And you'll notice I did a whole bunch of returns so that I could put another word on another line. So you could get at least 2, probably 3 sets of beads out of one piece of paper. Then I'm going to do nice straight lines and determine where I want the end of the beads to be. And we've got it nice and centered, and the end of the paper is just above the top of the word, and it's about 4 inches long. Now to make the bead itself, I have my glue saucer, and then I drag the end of the bead paper through the glue and then run it along the edge of the whatever it is you're using to apply the glue on. That'll give it a nice thin coat. So you fold down the edge of that paper and then just roll it up as if you were rolling up a thing of wrapping paper. I like to keep rolling a few times at the end, and what that does is it distributes the glue evenly underneath the bead, and it just makes it a nicer finish. And there you go, one friend's bead. Awesome. Now you can stop there and you can add other beads to it if you want. It's totally fine. Or you can make your own beads to finish out the bracelet like I did with this beautiful bracelet. And for this, I used the 2-to-a-page printable papers from Origami Twist. And this particular set of beads came from the Party Collection, and this is page number 76. So if you want these exact same beads, you can totally do that. It's a printable file. You get a whole bunch of pages to print out and do origami with, or in this case, make beads. This one is from a pattern called Mystery Novel, and it's page number 138. And I'll put all the links in the description below so you can go and check those out. So how do you make beads out of that? It looks like it's just a random piece of paper, doesn't it? Well, what you need to do is look at the end of your paper, because that's what you're going to end up seeing, right? So I decided that I wanted a couple of different patterns to show, and you can design this however you want. You can make really wide ones, really small ones, and I've actually cut this paper into strips so that I have a repeating pattern of what looks like little daisies, and then I have this flower look to it as well. When you cut it out, go ahead and cut it the same way we did with the beautiful one. So you just trim it in a nice straight line or use scissors. And the key part is the end, because that end bit is what's going to show once you're finished rolling it up. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you don't have any extra white bits at the end or whatever, unless you want to do that on purpose. So I've cut these two down to size, and again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the word bead. I'm just going to drag it against the glue, wipe off a little extra, and there you go. Isn't that adorable? Got a little flower on it. And now your bead is finished. So we're ready to put the bracelet together. And I've got some beads here to start that process. I'm going to use a gray, kind of a grayish color, because I think that looks good with the pink and the black, though you can use whatever color you've got. And again, we're going to be putting some knots into this like they use with pearls. So it will actually look like a little bead. So keep that in mind, that you will actually see it when you do this. Now, for this particular bracelet, I have actually used 4 strands held together. Now, to make sure that you don't run out of thread on the end, I put the word bead that's going to be in the middle, and then work on both ends of it, one at a time. So I'm going to use the word strength. So I'm going to thread all 4 threads together onto a big fat needle, and then thread your bead on. And as I said, if the hole is too small, then you just need less threads, and if it's too big, you need more threads. Okay, so I've got the first bead, which I'm going to place in the center of my embroidery floss. Then I'm going to tie an overhand knot, and I'm assuming you know how to do an overhand knot. I'm not going to teach that in this video. I'm going to tie an overhand knot around my pinky. See that? The reason I'm tying it around my pinky is so that I don't lose that hole as I'm pulling it tighter toward the end of the bead. So you need to slide that cord down the end, and then as you get to the bead, and it's not so much of an issue with that first knot because you can then slide the bead toward it, but on all the other knots you want to get it as close to the edge of the bead as possible. Now that's going to take a little bit of practice, but the more you practice, the better you'll get at it, just like with anything in life, and it's highly worth learning how to do that. So I'm going to show you on the other side. So again, tie an overhand knot around your pinky, so between the needle and the bead, and pull on it so that it's tied to your finger. Then you want to gently work it towards the edge of the bead, tightening very, very gently and very, very slowly as you go. Now, I'm not super happy with that. There's a bit of a gap there, but that's okay. That would actually look pretty cute. And it's going to keep the bead moving in between the 2 knots, and then it won't slide all over the place. There you go. So the next part, do it freehand like I did with these 2, or you can take some washi tape and tape it down to the table. I like washi tape because it's easy to remove and you can move it around really simple without having to deal with too much with it. So I'm putting the paper under that so you can see it. So I've taped it on one side. I'm now going to work on putting all of the beads on the one side, and then I'll do the same on the other side. So I'm doing a pattern of large pink flower and then small pink flower. Whoops, hang on, that's it. Slide it down, overhand knot around your pinky, and I leave the needle on because then you don't have to thread it every single time. Work it gently down to the end, right next to the bead. Slide the bead as close to the bead above it as you can, and then gently tighten it until it's in a location you're happy with. Like that. And again, I have a little bit of a gap there, but that's okay. I've used less of a gap with this one. You can see they're right up against each other. So I'll do one more and you get the idea. Slide it down to the last knot. Tie a knot around your pinky, and then use your pinky to guide the knot down to the edge of the bead. And here we go. So we create knots in between each of the beads, and then you do them until it fits your wrist. And you can either tie a knot in it if you want to make it big enough to slide onto your wrist, like I did here, or you could put on a clasp on the end and make sure you accommodate for the clasp when you're putting it together so that you can clasp it on and off. And there you go. I hope you make tons of word beads and try out some of the origami twist paper as beads. Have a great day, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And please subscribe if you like videos like this. There are lots of other options on the channel as well. Please feel free to check them out. And I will see you again soon with another video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.